Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger are two violent outlaws on the run in The Getaway. It's one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, and we'll also have special team coverage of the Oscar surprises. Nominations we were surprised got made, and nominations we were surprised didn't get made. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
We always have team coverage. I'm the other half of the team. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is The Getaway, and this is a wildly uneven action romance picture with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger in the roles of married thieves on the run, first played by Steve McQueen and Ally McGraw in a 1972 version of hard-boiled novelist Jim Thompson's story. The picture starts out great with Alec Baldwin as a crook who is constantly being double-crossed, like here in Mexico, after he springs a creep out of jail.
Vamos arriba, gringo.
Baldwin spends a year in jail, only to fall back into the arms of his wife, played by his real wife, Kim Basinger.
You trust me?
Yeah, I guess so.
You better. Tell me everything's gonna be okay tomorrow, Doc.
The best part of the film is the opening, with Baldwin and his partners knocking over a Phoenix dog track for over $1 million in cash. The caper has been arranged by a mobster played by James Woods, and don't you just want him to play every bad guy in the movies? Woods brings a smile as he reveals to Baldwin that he's been sleeping with his wife while Baldwin was in jail.
She sees an opportunity and she takes it. Who could blame her? She started a life on the run. Her husband is a loser.
Ultimately, both Baldwin and Basinger are on the run, but her sleeping with James Woods plants seeds of distrust between them.
You weren't straight with me.
I didn't think you could handle the truth, and I was right.
So far, so good, but The Getaway falls apart, I think, with a subplot involving Michael Madsen as one of Baldwin's treacherous thieving partners, now out to kill him. And Jennifer Tilly is a dingbat, hot-to-trot veterinarian's wife he picks up on the way. She's absurd.
I'm not going to be any trouble to you. Fact is, this may sound kind of funny, but I was thinking that maybe you and I could be friends.
The rest of the movie's kind of gritty. She's goofy. I would have taken her character and that of her husband out of the picture and given us more time with Basinger and Baldwin. I do think The Getaway rights itself at the end with a rousing conclusion. I do recommend it, but only with big reservations.
You know, actually, Jennifer Tilly is one of the few things about this movie that I can defend, and that's because her character is so completely off the wall, and she plays it without reservations. It's a very strange, twisted character, and at the end when she's screaming and running around, there's a certain visceral appeal to it. But when you mentioned violent and ugly, to my mind, the whole picture is violent and ugly. I think it's one of the worst films of the year, and one of the things that really offended me is the fact that no effort whatsoever is made to tell us anything about these two leading characters. They simply appear on the screen, they've got guns, they're married, they're going to pull off these jobs we don't know, and the movie doesn't care anything about them.
I think that I do get a feeling for what that relationship is like. They've been going down the road in crime, and then they get split apart, and I think that there's a natural chemistry between the two of them. Didn't you like the dog track robbery at the beginning?
There was a certain amount of skill in the way that was handled.
That's
but
stylish.
By the end of the movie, when they're having that shootout in the hotel, it just goes on and on and on. And in fact, I would really compare this movie to an arcade game. For example, in The Police Chase, every time that one car explodes or crashes behind them, another one pops up, just like in one of these arcade games. And the same thing in the hotel. One guy jumps out from behind a door, then another guy jumps out.
I thought the hotel stuff was better, but there are too many car crashes.
Okay, next movie, and our next movie is Blank Check, the story of a bright kid who cashes a check for $1 million and lives it up beyond his wildest dreams. The movie stars Brian Bonsell as an 11-year-old who feels discriminated against by his achievement-oriented family. Then a criminal crushes the kid's bicycle with his car and, in his hurry, accidentally hands him a blank check to cover the damages. The boy fills in the check for $1 million, and to his amazement, he's able to cash it.
I assume you know what to do with this.
What the kid doesn't realize is that the crooked banker was expecting $1 million check from the criminal and thought the little boy was his emissary.
He gave all your money to a little old bitty boy.
That was my nest egg. That's all I had to start a new life. I worked hard to steal that money, Bierman.
The little boy creates a myth to explain where his money is allegedly coming from, and he invites a pretty bank teller, played by Karen Duffy, out on a dinner date. He doesn't know she's an undercover FBI agent investigating the wealth of the mysterious Mr. McIntosh.
Mr. McIntosh is very interested in you.
He is?
He's never met anybody like you before.
He's never met me before, period.
Jack, luckily, no, but he's been thinking a lot about you lately.
The movie fulfills every boy's dream of unlimited spending money as the young millionaire lives it up.
Ice cream! Turn around, Henry!
Oh, right on.
Hey, thanks a lot for the great watch.
Blank Check is a good-looking movie with a high energy level, but boy, is this screenplay totally misguided. It starts with a promising idea, which is the kid wants to impress his materialistic family, but it trades that in for a tired old story about how the kid is chased all over town by 3 bumbling bad guys. And his relationship with a sexy FBI agent feels forced and awkward. It would have been more fun if he was trying to impress a girl his own age. The movie avoids all sorts of good comic possibilities and settles for the easy way out.
Oh, I completely agree. It's an awful film. And just start with the premise. You've got a kid with $1 million in cash. What would a smart young boy do with $1 million in cash? He'd buy every ticket to every sporting event. He'd jet across the country, buy skyboxes across the country.
Yeah, the last thing he's going to do is throw a party for a lot of adults and worry about the hors d'oeuvres and whether or not they have a band that they can dance to.
The whole mentality of the picture is an adult mentality, not a kid's mentality, and not a smart kid's mentality.
You put your finger right on it. This is really a movie about a 21-year-old getting $1 million.
Maybe a 40-year-old.
And they made the kid 11, yeah.
Absolutely. Coming up next, My Girl 2, a sequel to a superb film about young people dealing with death.
It's sort of a reminder of a friend of mine.
Boyfriend?
He was my best friend. Smile, though your heart is aching.
She's beautiful.
Smile, even though it's breaking.
That's Anna Klumsky once again as a mortician's daughter named Veda dealing with death, this time the life and death of her own mother in My Girl 2, a sequel to one of the best films ever made about children and mortality. You might recall the first film. That's the one where Macaulay Culkin played Klumsky's childhood friend who died after being stung by bees. The sequel, which is quite uneven, is set in 1974 and gets off to a rocky start with Dan Aykroyd, quite annoying as her dim and doting dad, who doesn't want his daughter going to Los Angeles to learn about her mother who died in childbirth.
Those LA people are also corrupt. You'll end up pregnant and on drugs. And don't come running to me when you wake up in the city morgue with a tag on your toe having been beaten to an unrecognizable pulp by some surfer.
Once in Los Angeles at her uncle's house, the film improves as she falls into the countercultural world of LA in the early 70s. Richard Mazur plays her Uncle Phil.
Rose in my room.
She lives here too?
That's right. Right, one big happy family. This is Nick's room, and,
But are you engaged or something?
dating. Seriously, dating.
She also meets her uncle's girlfriend's son, played by Austin O'Brien. They have an uneasy relationship. They're afraid of liking each other too much, so they fight. Here over a mood ring that was given to her by Macaulay Culkin's character in the first film.
Don't force it, you'll break it.
I'm not gonna break it. I just want to see it change colors.
I want it back now. I never should have taken it off. I want it back.
The two kids wander over Los Angeles looking for information about her late mother. Staying out all night gets them in trouble, the kind of wisecracking trouble that occurs only in the movies.
I don't suppose your father gave you permission to pierce your ears, did he?
Not exactly.
Well, just don't shave your legs. He'll never let you visit us again if I send you home hairless and full of holes.
For every scene I liked in My Girl 2, there was one I didn't like, and yet I must admit that I do look back on the film with some affection. Anna Klumsky is a marvelous young actress. You instinctively want to follow her wherever she goes, and there are supporting characters who are fascinating too. I like Uncle Phil and his girlfriend at the auto repair shop, played by Christine Ebersole. If there had been another rewrite, I think, on this script, I just might be recommending My Girl too, but not quite right now.
You know, one of the things I didn't like was the subplot involving Garrett Graham as the guy in the Jaguar who wants to have an affair with Uncle Phil's wife or girlfriend. That didn't work, and it was just a distraction that kept coming around and bringing the movie to a dead halt. Another question that I'm afraid I had was, what business do these two little kids have wandering all over Los Angeles, including some very dangerous neighborhoods at all times of the day and night? And that was a question I just couldn't rid myself of, even though I knew I wasn't supposed to be asking it.
Well, I think that's because the subject is real of what they're dealing with, and yet there are elements in this picture, like that boyfriend,
that are completely...
it's movie stuff. And the LA stuff, sometimes it's movie characters.
Right at the end, there are some really nice scenes. For example, when she meets the first husband that she didn't know her mother had. That's nice, but the movie as a whole doesn't work. When we come back, the Oscar surprises. We're surprised about some of the nominations that were made and also about some that were not made. This year's Academy Award nominations were announced before dawn last Wednesday in Los Angeles, and as always, the list contains several surprises. Some of them made us really happy because we had actually called for them on our memo to the Academy a couple of weeks ago, and one of those came in the Best Actor category. 4 of the nominees were more or less expected. They were Daniel Day-Lewis for In the Name of the Father, Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, Anthony Hopkins in The Remains of the Day, and Liam Neeson in Schindler's List. What surprised and delighted us was the 5th nominee, Lawrence Fishburne, who was so brilliant as band leader Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do with It.
Yeah, that marquee out there say Ike and Tina Turner. And the people out there waiting on me, and you laying up here talking about you trying. Now, what you gonna do? You want to take care of business, or you looking for a way out?
Another surprise is in the Best Supporting Actress slot. The nominees include Anna Paquin in The Piano, Rosie Perez in Fearless, and Winona Ryder in The Age of Innocence. But the surprise here is that both supporting nominees, Emma Thompson of In the Name of the Father and Holly Hunter for The Firm, were also nominated in the Best Actress category. It's the first time in Oscar history for 2 double nominations. It was no surprise that Hunter was nominated for The Piano. She's the front runner for Best Actress.
Do you know how to bargain?
But Hunter's supporting nomination in The Firm was a surprise. It was only one of 2 nominations for this hit film. She played the zealous secretary and lover for A Private Eye, played by Gary Busey, and became Tom Cruise's invaluable sidekick.
He's been dying to see you since you called.
That's what I saw.
Henry!
Mr. Lomax will see you now.
Holly Hunter was so much fun in The Firm that maybe in another year it wouldn't have been a surprise that she got a supporting nomination. But this year, when it must have been obvious to every single person who voted for her in the supporting category that she would be nominated for Best Actress for The Piano, I'm surprised that more Academy voters didn't use their vote in that category to range a little more widely, say to support someone like Cy Chin in the Joy Luck Club, for example.
That would have been a much better choice. I didn't think Holly Hunter was so great in The Firm. I am delighted, as you mentioned, about Lawrence Fishburne. I think this is a case of marketing. I think that a lot of white people, a lot of white voters, didn't want to go to see this picture in a theater because they thought it was black, but when the cassettes were sent to them at home, they saw it, and it was excellent.
And they looked at it. And they listened to our show where we said, vote for Lawrence Fishburne.
You got it,
right?
kid.
Okay.
Also surprising is the other double nomination this year for actress. Emma Thompson, as expected and deserved, was nominated for Best Actress as the head housekeeper, unable to connect with butler Anthony Hopkins in The Remains of the Day.
Well, I'm sure, Mr. Stevens, it must have been very galling for your father to be called William by one such as myself.
No surprise there, but here is the surprise. She was also nominated in the supporting category for her role as an earnest lawyer defending a wrongly imprisoned man in the Name of the Father.
Would you be so kind as to read the statement that you took from him on the 3rd of November, 1974?
She was sincere in the role, and she held her own with the film star Daniel Day-Lewis, and obviously was carried along by another surprise, the overall strong showing this year of In the Name of the Father, with 7 nominations overall, 6 in big categories. It's a good film, obviously helped by its late December release, leaving it fresh in the minds of Academy voters.
Come on, follow me.
Part of the In the Name of the Father juggernaut earning his first nomination is Pete Postlethwaite, the actor who played Daniel Day-Lewis's father in the film, nominated as Best Supporting Actor.
My name's Giuseppe Conno, and I'm an innocent man, and so's my son. Shouldn't even be in here.
That's good work, and his whole character was a surprise in the film, and that it came out at the end of the year, well, that's often the recipe for Oscar nomination success.
You know, talking about Emma Thompson in The Name of the Father, she's obviously this year's version of Meryl Streep. The Academy feels she can do no wrong, but actually, she was only just fine in The Name of the Father without being an Oscar-caliber performance. Her third performance this year, in Much Ado About Nothing, would have been the one that I would have nominated her for if she had to be nominated twice.
That's a very good point. Coming up next, Oscars omissions, the nominations that weren't made that we think should have been. Continuing our special report on Oscar nomination surprises, now we're going to look at glaring omissions. I was surprised, for example, that Andrew Davis, the director of The Fugitive, wasn't nominated as Best Director, even though his film was nominated as Best Picture of the Year.
I'm getting rid of the helicopter!
Why?
Because I don't want to get shot!
Instead of Davis, the director's branch nominated an excellent choice, Robert Altman, for directing the 22 characters in his L.A. story, Shortcuts.
Bro, what are you doing here?
Here to see you. What else?
How does this happen? Actually, the exact same thing happened to Altman himself last year, when The Player was nominated for Best Picture, but he wasn't as director. The explanation? Two different groups are nominating. The entire 4,800-member Academy for Best Picture, but just the 300-member directors branch for Best Director. And those directors have less mainstream taste. Another surprise, omission, Ben Kingsley is the businessman who deals with Oskar Schindler in devising a way to save Jews from the Holocaust in Schindler's List.
Dealings with our black market contacts listed as suppliers in the legitimate ledger are more complicated. What do you mean, forget it? You can't forget it. You can't forget it.
I'm really surprised he wasn't nominated as supporting actor. Was he too sincere, or did the nomination of the fine actor Ralph Fiennes as the major villain in the story kill Kingsley's chances? I'm not sure, but I am surprised.
I was surprised, too, especially considering how obviously everyone in the Academy admires Schindler's List, and it would have been a case where two people could have easily been nominated from the same picture, but for some reason, he wasn't. Another thing that sort of surprised me was the complete shutout of the Joy Luck Club, which when it was released last September was considered a shoo-in for a Best Picture nomination, as well as for mentions in the acting, writing, and directing categories. The movie was not only a critical success, it was a box office success as well, with a gross of over $32 million, and it only cost about $12 million to make. Audiences were deeply moved by its interlocking stories of the hard early lives of 4 Chinese-American women, including Tsai Chen, seen here as she argues with her daughter, Tamlin Tamita, about the worthiness of Tamita's fiancé.
I like Rich. Of course I do. To allow him to marry such a daughter.
Another surprise for me as I looked down the list was the exclusion of Robin Williams, a favorite of both the public and Academy voters over the years, for his work in Mrs. Doubtfire. The Academy voters usually love work like this, where an actor becomes invisible inside a skillful makeup job, but this time the makeup got nominated, but Williams didn't.
Miranda's been raving about you. Odd. She's never mentioned you.
There were a couple of other names I wouldn't have been surprised to see in the Best Actor category, including Harvey Keitel for The Piano and Harrison Ford for The Fugitive, but Robin Williams looked like a sure bet to me, and the Academy obviously thought otherwise. That is a surprise.
Well, they also had a lot of high-quality nominations in that category, so, you know, sometimes you want other people to be in there, but who are you going to really toss out? Harrison Ford, I think, is worth noting. Here is an actor who carries action pictures as well as anybody, and he gets stiffed repeatedly, and I think that this is a guy that I guess he's going to have to bare his soul and play a demented guy in order to get a nomination.
There aren't 2 or 3 people in the entire history of film who can do what Harrison Ford does. And maybe then not as well as he does it.
He does it exceedingly well. When we return, we'll take another look at the movies we reviewed this week.
Tune in to the annual Siskel and Ebert Academy Awards special, If We Pick the Winners, and you could win a Pioneer Laser Active Player, an advanced interactive Laserdisc player that plays movies and CDs, as well as exciting new interactive Laserdiscs, Laser Karaoke, plus Sega CD and Genesis games. Pioneer Laser Active, one machine, infinite possibilities. All you have to do is write your name, address, and daytime phone number. Mail it to Siskel and Ebert Contest, P.O. Box 4545, Chicago, Illinois 60680. All entries must be received by Monday, February 28th. 5 randomly drawn postcards will win a Pioneer Laser Active Player. Winners will be announced on the Siskel and Ebert Academy Award Special, If We Pick the Winners. Check your local listings for date and time.
On Siskel and Ebert in weeks to come, we're going to be reviewing some of this year's Oscar nominees, especially in the very interesting foreign language film category. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We had a split decision on The Getaway with Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger wading through nonstop mayhem. It reminded me of a brainless arcade game, but Gene liked the action and the movie's rousing conclusion. 2 thumbs down for Blank Check, the awkward and unconvincing comedy about a young boy who gets $1 million and spends it all in the most boring ways. And 2 more thumbs down for My Girl 2, the slow-moving story of a teenage girl's search for memories of her dead mother, although we admired Anna Klumsky's performance.
And the actual Oscars will be given out March 21st. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of Blue Chips, starring Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal, in the story of a basketball coach striving to get his career and team back on track. And Reality Bites, a romantic comedy where Winona Ryder has to choose between Ethan Hawke and Ben Stiller. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
It's America's favorite Jelly Bean Jelly Belly, now in new 20 and 40 flavor gift boxes. The original gourmet Jelly Bean Jelly Belly. St. Ives Swiss Formula Peaches and Cream Facial Beauty Wash for a peaches and cream complexion at St. Ives Swiss Formula, naturally. If you'd like to save up to 50% on your contact lenses, eyeglasses, and eye exams, call for a free Lens Express catalog and find out how you can start saving right away. Bigfoot Pizza from Pizza Hut, only $10.99 for the largest single pizza you can have delivered. Bigfoot Pizza, a legendary value.